Good morning. I am making a video, like a little preface to some guides I'm going to make. This one is purely explaining how I interpret the nerf to Arms Warriors. So the Focus Rage build mostly, but the nerf affects all Arms builds, which doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, but I am going to put some annotations up because the nerf and focus rage build in general is quite mathy, but I don't want to make the mathy confusing. I'm not a huge math guy, but if you want to understand how this all works, you got to get slightly mathy. So, how can I say it? The whole thing that Focus Rage and Arms is built around, obviously, is your tactician. So every one rage you spend, you get a percentage chance to reset Colossus Smash and Mortal Strike. The other thing that comes into it is Exploit the Weakness. This increases how much rage you spend. Whenever you spend one rage, so you spend one rage, it increases how much rage you spend by a flat percentage. And of course the other thing that, and this one's the kick in the face, sadly, Focus Rage itself, the damage modifier on Focus Rage was reduced to 30%, and Hamstring no longer goes towards resetting Colossus Smash and Mortal Strike. So it no longer is included in the tactician calculation. This one is bigger, I think, than people realise, because during battle cry and things and moments where you had really high rage where you were going to cap, it just added 10%, give or take. It added 10% chance to reset on top of whatever else you were doing. That's gone now, which the damage it added was negligible. It was really the reset chance. So now math. I'm going to put up two annotations just to show you how it's broken down. But the things in the annotation. Okay, so here we go. I'll show tactician from 1 to 6 points. Now I've got 5, but from 1 to 6 points. So post nerf, tactician will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. And then, pre-nerf. Then after the nerf, you go on 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. They're the increments that it works on now. And the base calculation, as you can see, used to be 0.65% chance. Now it's 0.75% chance. So before you went, from 10% to 60%, starting off at 0.715% chance, if you had a 10% buff, 10%, 1 point in Exploit the Weakness. So you're going from that point all the way through to 1.04% chance if you had 60% or 6 points. Now I only have 5, so I was looking at around 0.97. My math might be slightly off, and if it is, all the results will be slightly off. But I'm not that worried about the accuracy. I'm just trying to get people so they understand how this scales. Okay, if the math's off, the scaling is still going to be there, give or take. But just trying to get people's understanding. Then if you look at the same points, so 1 to 6 Exploit the Weakness with Tactician now, you can see it starts off at 0.78%. So if you only had 1 point in it, it was actually a buff to the base Tactician. But as you scale, it scales much worse. Now whether or not that's to make the Exploit the Weakness relics less dominant, because you were seeing people equip 30 eye level less or 40 eye level less relics because they were Exploit the Weakness. But you can see how it scales. So for me, I went from having a 0.97% chance per point of rage to have things reset to a 0.9%. People will say, 0.07%. Who cares about that? That's per one rage. You never spend one rage, and this thing grows exponentially. So that's the first bit. Now when you talk about spending abilities, pre-nerf, and I'll get rid of those annotations and I'll bring up new ones for the abilities. Pre-nerf, Mortal Strike and Slam, 19.4% chance every time you cast them to reset. Tactician. Focus Rage, Hamstring, Execute. You can see the percentages. Now, you can see all they drop. Mortal Strike, Slam drops, Execute drops, Focus Rage drops. Across the board. The big one, in my opinion, is Hamstring, because during Battlecry you were GCD stacking Hamstring, so you were losing 10% every GCD, regardless of what you're doing. That's the kicker, in my opinion. And then obviously I've already touched on the fact that when you do get resets when RNG goes your way, the Sledgehammer that used to come in that was Mortal Strike, you know, your 1.5, 1.6 mil Mortal Strikes with cooldowns rolling, and even your 1.2s, 1.3s without cooldowns rolling. You know, you'd never see one under a mil if, assuming you were stacking at least 2 Focus Rages. Now, without cooldowns, not even a million. You know, it's around that mark. My average Mortal Strike now isn't even over a million. And with cooldowns rolling, you still can sometimes see 1.2. You might scratch 1.3. I think that's pushing the friendship, to be honest. I don't think I saw many. And I have 98% mastery. Yeah. So it all adds to, when you get the RNG, like I said, the Sledgehammer's not there. And it was fine when the RNG would swing. You'd have like sort of ups and downs. When the ups were there before, you were rewarded. It felt like you were rewarded with like big meaty Mortal Strikes and things like that. Now the reward just doesn't seem to be there. I mean, we'll soldier on. We'll do our best. I'll do my best. I'll keep trying. But I feel like when you've got a spec that, in my opinion, isn't the easiest to play, people will argue that, but stuff them. I think this requires brain power. And I'm far from perfect, far from pro from it, but it requires thought, a good amount of thought, compared to just casting abilities that come off cooldown or refreshing dots and stuff like that. This, I think, is more technical. I mean, ask a feral druid. They'll know what you're getting at. You know, when they're playing Blood Talons and stuff like that. It's not just dot refreshing. It's not just watching timers. It's decision. It's constant decision making. But all classes, have an aspect of decision making. I just think this one, I'm not saying it's the hardest, but it's certainly not the easiest. So that's all I wanted to really sort of show, how things have changed, so people can understand why things are happening and all that sort of stuff. I do really think that legendaries will obviously go huge ways to fixing this, but hinging your hopes on legendaries is going to be it's a bit much. We've been doing mythics and we've been raiding, and I've seen one drop for our extremely lucky shaman. So obviously the gloves and the ring. Gloves, obviously everyone's going to want these bad boys, but once you can equip 2, bang bang, they're going to be glorious. So yeah, that's all I wanted to sort of explain. How have I been doing? My gear hasn't really changed, at all. And last night we did a ton of mythics, and I think I only broke 400k once. Bosses that don't have sort of buff increases and things like that, damage increases, just flat damage, normal bosses. I think I broke 400k once, which I uploaded that video so people could see. That sort of stuff. Most fights I was struggling to push 300k because on most fights RNG wasn't there, and the damage just wasn't there. Fights went for a bit longer because I wasn't murdering the burst and things like that. And the way I think this sits now, I think there are going to be many classes that over short duration fights are just gonna dominate arms now. So, will Blizzard revisit this? They might tweak a little bit. They might, you know, perhaps bring focus rage slightly back up. But who knows? We'll see. But anyway, cheers guys.